What name was given to the 10,000 strong elite force of the Persian army? Were they the warriors, immortals, or legends? And for this quiz, I've tried to include a larger variation of questions. I hope you enjoy it. And they were the immortals. Name the famous gladiator who led a slave revolt against Rome. Was it Spartacus, Maximus, or Commodus? And there's an early bonus point if you can name who played him in the 1960 film. The answer is Spartacus. What name is given to the female biological ancestor of humans? Is it Mother Nature, Mitochondrial Eve, or Mother Lucy? And it is Mitochondrial Eve. The colloquial title, Dear Leader, referred to who? Kim Jong-il, Winston Churchill, or Benito Mussolini? And that was for Kim Jong-il. Who or what was Gustav during World War II? Was it Hitler's dog, a fighter plane, or a massive German railway gun? And it was a massive gun. What luxury British passenger liner was sunk by a German U-boat in 1915? The Lusitania, Olympic, or Queen Mary? And the correct answer there, the Lusitania. Queen Berenice IV, sister of Cleopatra VII, ruled where? In Greece, Egypt, or Persia? And she ruled in Egypt. What was the capital of Charlemagne's empire? Was it Paris, Rome, or Aachen? And it was Aachen. The Good Friday Agreement is a peace agreement signed by which governments? The Iraqi and United States, Israeli and Palestinian, or British and Irish? And that was an agreement between the British and Irish. Name this ancient city that was once part of the Nabatean kingdom. Is it Petra, Palmyra, or Aleppo? And that is Petra. Citizens in what Polish ghetto revolted against the Nazis in 1943? Is the correct answer Lublin, Krakow, or Warsaw? And it was Warsaw. Haile Selassie I was emperor of which African nation from 1930 to 74? Was it Kenya, Ethiopia, or Mali? And he was the emperor of Ethiopia. And sticking with Ethiopia, name the Ethiopian king who ordered churches to be cut out of the rock. Was it Shaka Zulu, Lalibela, or Mansa Musa? And I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Lalibela. Where was the Minoan civilization founded? Was it founded in Corsica, Sicily, or Crete? And it was founded in Crete. Where was Osama bin Laden born? Was it in Iraq, Jordan, or Saudi Arabia? And he was born in Saudi Arabia. Most of the Dead Sea Scrolls are written in which language? Hebrew, Latin, or Sanskrit? And they are mostly written in Hebrew. Which of these wars took place in southern Africa? The Boxer Rebellion, the Yom Kippur War, or the Boer War? And the only one of those that was in southern Africa was the Boer War. In the Roman army, what was a scutum? Was it a helmet, a shield, or a sword? And it was a shield. Who succeeded Adolf Hitler as head of state and ordered Nazi Germany's surrender? Was it Heinrich Himmler, Hermann Göring, or Karl Dönitz? And it was Karl Dönitz. In which country did the first atomic bomb explode? Was it in the USA, Germany or Japan? And that was the Trinity test in the USA. What was Ethiopia formerly known as? Zimbabwe, Abyssinia or Swaziland? And I think this is the last question on Ethiopia. The answer is Abyssinia. Where were the 12 tables displayed in Rome? The Pantheon, Forum or Colosseum? And there's an extra bonus point for anybody who knows what the 12 tables were. The answer is they were displayed at the Forum. What was the purpose of the Archimedes screw? Was it to raise water, for torture or for joining wood? And it was to raise water. Which tribe of Native Americans walked the now famous Trail of Tears? Was it the Mohawk, Blackfoot or Cherokee? And the correct answer is Cherokee. In which European country was Kim Jong-un educated for several years? Was it in Switzerland, the United Kingdom or Poland? And it was in Switzerland. Who crossed the Alps to lead a surprise attack from the north against the Romans? Was it Alexander the Great, Hannibal or Darius the Great? And that was Hannibal. The kingdom of Kush was situated along which river? The Amazon, Nile or Danube? The correct answer here is the Nile, which is a poem about a mythological king from ancient Mesopotamia. Is it the Odyssey, the Iliad, or the Epic of Gilgamesh? And did you go for the correct one? It is the Epic of Gilgamesh. Who was the Parthenon in Greece built to honour? Was it Zeus, Aphrodite, or Athena? And if you know that that's in Athens, the answer is easy, Athena. What kind of weapon was a Roman gladius? Was it a sword, dart or javelin? And a gladius was a sword. Where did the Dalai Lama go to escape Chinese occupation of Tibet in 1959? Did he go to India, Thailand or Japan? And he went to India. What alphabet is the Cyrillic alphabet closely based on? Latin, English or Greek? And it's based on Greek. Which colony formed after the defeat of the Aztecs in South America? Was it New England, New Spain or New Portugal? And it was New Spain. People with which disease were placed on isolated colonies, often on islands? Leprosy, scurvy or dysentery? And the answer is leprosy. One of the richest people ever, Mansa Musa, was the ruler of which empire? The Inca, Mali or Persian? And he was the ruler of the Mali Empire. Which weapon was a major factor in the English victories during the 100 Years' War? Was it a cannon, longbow or flintlock? And it was the longbow. Which pharaoh had nearly all the evidence of her reign destroyed? Cleopatra, Hatshepsut or Nefertiti? And the correct answer, Hatshepsut. What were nomarchs in ancient Egypt? Were they cats, pyramids or district governors? And they were district governors. Who was Cyrus the Great? Was he a Persian king, an Egyptian pharaoh or a Roman emperor? and he was a Persian king. Nebuchadnezzar II constructed which of the 7 wonders of the ancient world? The Hanging Gardens of Babylon, the Colossus of Rhodes, or the Lighthouse of Alexandria? And I'm sure he didn't personally build it, but he had built the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Who founded the world's first empire, the Akkadian Empire? Was it Hammurabi, Sargon, or Darius? And that was Sargon. Which is responsible for hunter-gatherers establishing permanent settlements, giving rise to villages? Was it farming, discovering iron, or discovering fire? And it was when they started farming. What was the fossil skeleton of a human ancestor discovered in Ethiopia in 1974 named? Was it Eve, Lucy, or Jane? And she was named Lucy. The caste system, a social hierarchy, has historically been associated with which country? India, France, or Greece? And the answer is India. What was the first metal used for tools? Was it gold, copper, or lead? And that was copper. What term describes a large stone that forms a prehistoric monument or is part of one? A batholith, megalith, or dolomite? And the correct answer is megalith. Which were ancient Greek foot soldiers armed with spears and shields? Legionnaires, carvers, or hoplites? And I know it's pronounced differently in Greek, but I'm not going to try it. The correct answer is hoplites. What was the primary focus of the Spartan government and society? Was it democracy, education and the arts, or military strength and discipline? And it was military strength and discipline. Phoenicians were known for their production of a highly prized dye of what colour? Red, purple, or green? And the correct answer is purple. In which modern-day country would you find the archaeological remains of ancient Carthage? Tunisia, Turkey, or Syria? And it's in Tunisia. Which civilization is known for its massive stone head sculptures? The Inca, Olmec, or Greek? Well, they're clearly not Greek, but did you pick the right one? Olmec. The Maya civilization was primarily located in which geographical region? South America, Central America, or North America? And they were primarily in Central America. Who was sentenced to death on charges of impiety and corrupting the youth? Plato, Socrates, or Aristotle? And that was Socrates. Who did the Athenians beat at the Battle of Marathon? The Romans, Spartans, or Persians? And they defeated the Persians. Who is the famous son of the Macedonian king Philip II? Is it Mark Antony, Julius Caesar, or Alexander the Great? And do you know this one? It is Alexander the Great. And let's stick with him to the nearest year. How many years did Alexander the Great rule for? 13, 33, or 53? And he ruled for just under 13 years. And which friend of Alexander the Great founded a dynasty in Egypt? Was it Ptolemy, Cassander, or Seleucus? And it was Ptolemy. The Punic Wars were fought between which two powers in the Mediterranean? Rome and Carthage, Egypt and Persia, or Greece and Macedonia? And the answer, Rome and Carthage. Which Roman was appointed dictator for life and then assassinated shortly afterwards? Was it Titus, Nerva, or Julius Caesar? And the correct answer, Julius Caesar. Druids were religious leaders of which society? Norse, Celtic, or Phoenician? And the correct answer, Celtic. Name the Germanic people who sacked Rome and founded a kingdom in North Africa. Was it the Huns, Gauls, or Vandals? And it was the Vandals. Which famous Hun leader led invasions into Europe during the 5th century? Was it Genghis Khan, Attila, or Kublai Khan? And the answer is Attila. Who were the first settlers of Hawaii? The Polynesians, Mayans, or Europeans? And it was the Polynesians. What erupted in 1883 and was one of the most powerful eruptions in recorded history? Was it Vesuvius, Krakatoa, or Mount Fuji? And the correct answer, Krakatoa. Aboriginal people have occupied mainland Australia for at least how many years? 5,000, 25,000, or 65,000? And the answer, 65,000. Which ancient civilization played a game called pits with a rubber ball? The Mayans, Egyptians, or Akkadians? And that was the Mayans. In which modern-day country did the Nazca people live? In Mexico, Peru, or Belize? And they lived in Peru. Who invented both the rudder and the magnetic compass? The Chinese, Romans, or Egyptians? And the answer there is the Chinese. Who was the first person in history to use steam as a form of energy? Archimedes, Plato, or Hero of Alexandria? And the answer is Hero, which describes an agricultural worker bound by the feudal system in the medieval era. A serf, squire, or knave? And the answer is a serf. To escape persecution, Muhammad and his followers fled from Mecca to where? Damascus, Medina, or Jerusalem? And the answer, Medina. Who was the first European to explore the Northwest Passage in 1497? Was it Christopher Columbus, John Cabot, or James Cook? And it was John Cabot. How many British colonies united to form the Commonwealth of Australia in 1901? Was it 6, 10, or 13? And the answer is 6. Which was expelled from the United Nations in 1971? Israel, Cuba, or Taiwan? And the correct answer there, Taiwan. Which international honour was first awarded in 1901? Grammy Award, Nobel Prize, or Pulitzer Prize? And the answer, the Nobel Prize. Which inventor was known as the Wizard of Menlo Park? Alexander Graham Bell, Nikola Tesla, or Thomas Edison? And the answer, Thomas Edison. Which African capital city was known during colonial times as Leopoldville? Nairobi, Kinshasa, or Cairo? And the correct answer, Kinshasa. Who followed the Bushido warrior code? Samurai, Viet Cong, or Zulus? and that is samurai. What was the only African empire to survive as a Christian state? The Mali Empire, Ethiopian Empire, or Ghana Empire? And my mistake, there was one more question about it, the Ethiopian Empire. Which of these groups came first in our evolution? Homo erectus, Homo sapiens, or Australopithecus? Which is virtually impossible to say. And just to be clear, the question is just which of these was first. And the correct answer, Australopithecus. Who was the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean in 1932? Was it Amelia Earhart, Harriet Quimby, or Jacqueline Cochrane? And it was Amelia Earhart. Who wrote the 1859 book On the Origin of Species? Was it Isaac Newton, Ernest Rutherford, or Charles Darwin? And it was Charles Darwin. And sticking with Charlie Darwin, name the ship Charles Darwin sailed on during his voyage to the Galapagos Islands. Was it HMS Victory, Discovery, or Beagle? And he sailed on the Beagle. Daimyo were powerful feudal lords in which country? China, Japan, or India? And they were in Japan. What marks the end of prehistory and the beginning of history? Is it written records, civilizations, or the use of fire? And the answer, written records. Who did the Empire of Japan start a full-scale invasion of in 1937? Was it the United States, China, or Vietnam? And they invaded China. Between which two wars was the national prohibition in the United States? The American Civil War and World War I, World War I and II, or World War II and Vietnam? And it was between World War I and II. Who colonised Vietnam, Cambodia and Laos? Was it France, Spain or Portugal? And that was France. Which English company founded in 1600 aimed to exploit trade with East and Southeast Asia, including India? Was it the East India Company, the East Asia Company or the South India Company? And it was the East India Company. A 17th century mania over which product caused a financial crisis? Was it over gold, diamonds or tulips? And it was over tulips. The Alhambra in Spain is a famous historic monument of which architecture? Christian, Islamic or Gothic? And it is Islamic. What ships did the Vikings use to make raids and carry their warriors? Galleons, galleys or longships? And they used longships. Where was the Khmer Empire located? North Africa, Central America or Southeast Asia? And it was in Southeast Asia. Which leading Nazi was assassinated in 1942 by the Czech resistance? Was it Reinhard Heydrich, Albert Speer or Rudolf Hess? And it was Reinhard Heydrich. Who did Alfred the Great defeat at the Battle of Edington? Was it the French, the Romans or the Danes? And he defeated the Danes. The Teutonic Knights were created in 1190 AD during what? The Black Death, Renaissance or Third Crusade? And the answer, the Third Crusade. Who claimed the eastern part of Australia for Britain in 1770, naming it New South Wales? Was it James Cook, Francis Drake or Henry Hudson? And it was James Cook. Which Dutch dancer was executed for spying in 1917? Was it Bonnie Parker, Tokyo Rose, or Mata Hari? And it was Mata Hari. The Long March was a military retreat undertaken by which army? The Chinese Communists, the Japanese, or the French? And it was the Chinese Communists. Who ordered the construction of St. Basil's Cathedral in the 16th century? Was it Peter the Great, Alexander II, or Ivan the Terrible? And it was Ivan the Terrible. Hey, let me show you something. I've made an ebook for you on all the questions in this quiz. It gives you more information about all the questions and answers. So if you got a couple wrong and you're not sure why, or maybe you just like to learn a little bit more about each of the questions, then go and download it. There's a link in the description down below, plus in the pinned comment. It costs less than $3, and I think it's the best way to retain the information from this quiz. You can download it from Google Play Books or Amazon using the links in the description down below. Or if you're watching now on television, I'll put a QR code on the screen for you. That's a link to the Amazon. If you scan that with your phone, that'll take you right to it. Okay, I'll leave that on the screen for you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.